Welcome to H-Frame, the only comprehensive, completely unofficial guide to vintage Black & Decker Workmates. The website is hframe with a hyphen .weebly.com, where you'll find my in-depth documentation, over 60 web pages, over 100 PDF documents, over 500 photographs, and still growing. The subject of this video is the Workmate 79-001 Type 9, which was the final version of the classic original US Workmate from the 1970s and 80s. Production of the Black & Decker Workmate for North America began in Black & Decker's factory in Brockville, Ontario in 1974 with the model 79001, which continued through 1982 in 10 versions designated by Black & Decker as types E through 9. My website and my other videos have extensive background info about all of the early Workmates. To identify a 79001 Type 9, look for the rectangular holes in the front corners of the metal footrest, which you can just see in this view from a distance, and the rectangular plastic block jaw mounts, which are probably pretty hard for you to pick out in the video, but you'll be able to see them later. Either one of these two features on a 79001 uniquely identifies it as a Type 9. One caution is that the Workmate 300, also known by its model number 79-033, which replaced the Type 9 in 1982, has those same two features, but it is labeled very prominently with its model number right on top of the jaws and on the crossbar of the H-frame, so it can't easily be confused with a 79001. Based on my extensive research, I estimate that about 2% of all 79001s are Type 9s. This makes it the least common of the 79001s made in Brockville, and one of the most rare overall. This is consistent with its short production period, which lasted from November 1981 to April 1982. My 79001 Type 9 is the only Workmate I own that has never been used. I bought it a couple of years ago off a Craigslist ad, still in its box, unassembled. I have another YouTube video showing the unboxing of it if you like watching that kind of thing. I'll be showing you primarily the components on the Type 9 that changed from the Type 8. I may review a few carryover things as well. The change from the Type 8 to the Type 9 was in one way quite different from the changes I've documented between the other types. In those changeovers, I've shown you numerous small changes in components all over the Workmate. With the Type 9, instead of a bunch of small unrelated changes, there was one very big change involving multiple components. The major change in the Type 9 is a revision to the folding and latching mechanism that had been in use since the Type 1. The new design employs two what I call pinball buttons on the outside of the left and right upper frame pieces. These are now the buttons that you press to release the latches for folding and unfolding. In a clever design, the same buttons are used both to raise the top from the lowered position and to lower it from the raised position. When you want to release the top to fold the Workmate down, instead of pulling on two levers as you would have done on the earlier types, you press the new buttons in a motion somewhat similar to playing a pinball machine. There is a springy plastic finger integral to the button that replaces the coil spring used on earlier 79001s and is somewhat reminiscent of the plastic levers used on the Type 6. Pressing on those same buttons when the Workmate is in the folded position releases the clips that keep the Workmate folded, allowing you to raise it to full height. Using the same buttons for both folding and unfolding makes those operations more intuitive than it was on the Workmates that immediately preceded this one. Somewhat of a return to the operation of the Type E, if you're familiar with that. I'll demonstrate this operation from a full side view of the Workmate and then show a closer view of the parts that make up the new mechanism. With the Workmate in the upright position, when you press the buttons, you get a different action than you would have when pulling the levers on the earlier Workmates. The buttons pop the upper ends of the side stays inward out of their locked position. With the side stays free, they begin to slide in the slots, just as they do in the earlier 79001s. Just as the top reaches its fully lowered position, you can see the buttons line up with the metal spring latch, which then slips onto the lower frame. The rectangular holes in the front footrest give them clearance to do that. Then when you want to raise the top, you press on the buttons again. Now in this position, they press on those steel clips, releasing them from the lower frame, and the Workmate comes up to full height. The upper ends of the side stays, combined with the springy fingers, provide the latching action in this position. I have the top of the Workmate propped up with a stick now to hold it in an intermediate position where it's not able to stay on its own. This gives a better view of the mechanism. Here is the new button, and you can see the springy finger. It is made of the same plastic as the button. It comes off the side of the button. It flexes every time you press the button, so it could be a weak point in this design. Here is the revised clip that holds the Workmate in the folded position. The clips were moved about 2 inches forward. They were back in this area on the earlier ones. That was so that they align with the buttons on the end of the side stay when the Workmate is folded. That means that the clips now engage at a spot farther forward on the lower frame than the old clips did. So rectangular holes were added to the front corners of the step to allow clearance for the clips. A couple of bent tabs that you can just see here, I hope, were incorporated into the bottom edge of the upper frame, apparently to help align the upper frame with the lower frame pieces when the Workmate is folded. I haven't actually been able to tell that they do very much. The side stays right here were shortened by about 2.5 inches compared with the earlier 79001s. And the lower pivot point was moved upward and forward. The original, the earlier 79001s, the pivot point would have been down in this area. And in addition, this is a little hard to show you. Maybe I can get it here. The side stays now have a bend in them right there. I think you can see where the bend is in it, whereas the earlier ones were straight. The steel U brackets that were used to attach the top or attach the jaws were replaced with solid black plastic blocks similar to the aluminum ones used on the Type 1, 3, and 5. On the Type 9, only one bolt is used at each end of each jaw. You can see that here. The bolts are inserted through a 7/8 inch hole from the top, whereas on the earlier ones that used solid aluminum blocks, the attachment came from below. These screw into the threaded plastic blocks to mount the jaws. There is a second hole about 5/16 inch diameter that matches up to a short alignment peg on the top of the mounting block. The Type 9 was the first Workmate to be shipped with the jaws unassembled. They supplied a small plastic wrench for the owner to use in mounting the jaws. The jaws on all of the Type 9s that I have seen are veneered MDF. This carried forward from the Type 8, but there were Type 8s that came with plywood jaws that I have never seen on a Type 9. The number of U.S. patents on the caution label on the jaws increased from 2 on the Type 8 to 14 on the Type 9. A sticker on the inside of the upper frame is found on a number of Type 9s, as it was on the Type 8 and Type 7, identifying the model number and type, but this Type 9 does not have that sticker. With the Workmate upside down, you can see that the Type 9 has the same plastic corner feet and the fixed rubber boot feet as the Type 8. The Brockville production code on the Type 9 can be found stamped either on the top or the bottom surface of the metal step, rather than on the bottom of the wooden jaws. This one has it on the bottom of the step. You can see it says 21533. That's the production code, TY9 for Type 9. This one was made April 7th, 1982, making it very close to the last 79001 manufactured. I have found one other Type 9 with a date from the following week. So that's it for my examination of the 79001 Type 9 Workmate. You can find much more about this and all of the early Workmates at my website, including owner's manuals, part diagrams, catalog and newspaper appearances, as well as discoveries I have made that are not documented anywhere else. Thanks for watching.